You probably won't have a chance to stand before any president ever and share the gospel with him, like Paul did. But you will stand trial before unbelievers in your life who are desperate to know the truth, even if they don't believe they are. And you have it. So I want to give you a couple of principles from what we just saw from Paul, so that when you have your opportunity, and Jesus says, when you stand before people who don't believe, it's an opportunity. And opportunities can be handled one of two ways. You can waste it or you can seize it. I don't want you to waste those opportunities. Do you? So I want to give you a couple principles from this blueprint we have right here from Paul as he stands trial before governors and kings, so that you'll know what to do when you stand before unbelievers. The big idea from this morning's text is this: trials offer opportunities to tell unbelievers about Jesus. Very simple, very basic. There are three things that I see in this passage that Paul did. He defended something, he declared something, and he put something on display. He demonstrated something. Take a look. Here are the three things in advance. Paul defended the hope that he has in Jesus. Paul declared the forgiveness he received from Jesus. And then Paul demonstrated the assurance that he has in Jesus. That's not only the way that Paul did it, it is the way I'm going to show you that the New Testament commands that you do this as well when you're standing trial before people who don't believe. Can I take you through these 3 points one at a time? Component number 1, if you find your beliefs on trial, is this: defend the hope you have in him. Look back at verses 6 through 8. Now I stand here on trial. Why? Because of my hope in the promise made by God to our fathers, to which our 12 tribes hope to attain, as they earnestly worship night and day. And for this hope, I'm accused by Jews, O king. Peter went on to write, every Christian needs to defend the hope that you have in a resurrection to every unbeliever. When people come to you and say, you really believe in that fairy tale? That's your opportunity to stand on trial and say, let me tell you why I believe. Peter says this applies to you. Take a look. Peter wrote this to you. Even if you should suffer for what is right, so you're on trial because you believe in Jesus, you're blessed. Don't fear what they fear, and do not be shaken, but in your hearts sanctify Christ as Lord. Now look at this. Always be prepared. For what, Peter? Be prepared to give say it, church, a defense to everyone who asks you for the reason for the hope that is in you. Paul was on trial, and he defended the reason for the hope that was in him. You will be on trial before all the people who think you're nuts. And you are required by God to give a defense for the reason for the hope that is in you. Jesus would say, Sally, Bill, Bob, whatever your name is, this is your opportunity to share about me, just like he did in Matthew 10. The second component that we see in Paul's presentation of Jesus, after he defended the hope that he had, was to describe how his sins were forgiven. Component number 2, declare the forgiveness you have from him. And here's the critical concept that I want you to remember. People with guilt, they need to know where freedom is found. And you need to tell them. Verse 9 through 11, then skipping and going 17 through 18. I myself was convinced that I ought to do many things in opposing the name of Jesus of Nazareth. And I did so in Jerusalem. He's saying I was the bad guy. I not only locked up many of the saints in prison after receiving authority from the chief priests, but when they were put to death, I cast my vote against them. And I punished them often in all the synagogues and tried to make them blaspheme. And in raging fury against them, I persecuted them even to the foreign cities. He's saying, look, guys, you think you're so righteous as a Jew? Look, I was the leader of this mob. I was the one trying to kill people just like me. And then he recounts his conversion of when he met Jesus. Now look what Jesus says to him afterwards. Jesus says, Paul, I'm sending you to open their eyes, just as yours were closed and they're now opened. You're going to do the same for others, so that they may turn from darkness, literally means ignorance. They're blind fools. From darkness to light or truth. And from the power of Satan, which they don't know they're under, they think they're the good guys, to God. And why, Jesus? So that they may receive forgiveness of sins and a place among those who are sanctified by faith in me. Paul's third component in his presentation of Jesus before governors and kings was this. He demonstrated something. So listen, it goes from just telling them things to show and tell. It's time to bring a prop out and show them something. He demonstrated the assurance that he had in him, and so are you required to. Look back at verse 24 through 32. As he was saying these things in his defense, Festus, look at this, he just blurts out, he interrupts Paul's defense. He says with a loud voice, Paul, you're out of your mind. Your great learning is driving you out of your mind. He's saying, look, you spent a little bit too much time in those fancy books of yours, and it's driving you crazy. You're telling me that you, the scholar Pharisee, trained under Gamaliel, the great Gamaliel, you're telling me you believe that Jesus raises people from the dead? You're nuts. That's what he's saying. Paul said, I am not out of my mind, most excellent Festus. I'm speaking true, and say that next word nice and loud. That means it's not based on fanciful, wishful thinking, like so many people think. It's based on concrete, observable evidence. There are eyewitnesses and 500 people at one time, and I myself am an eyewitness. How many of you believe that Abraham Lincoln existed? You believe that because anybody meet him? No? You believe that because it was written in a history book. Same thing. Paul says we have eyewitnesses here and written testimonies of hundreds and hundreds of people who've seen him. So I'm willing to do anything because I know what I've seen. And I've seen a risen dead man. Paul said, I'm not out of my mind, most excellent Festus, but I'm speaking true and rational words. For the king knows about these things, and to him I speak boldly. I'm persuaded that none of these things has escaped his notice. This wasn't done in a corner. In other words, everybody knows this. King Agrippa. Oh, I love Paul. Do you believe the prophets? I know you believe. And Agrippa said to Paul, in a short time, would you persuade me to be a Christian? You go get him, Paul. And Paul said, whether short or long, I would wish to God that not only you, but also all who hear me this day might become such as I am, except these chains, King Agrippa, show and tell time. Paul proved that he was truly persuaded that he had seen the risen Jesus and that no matter what they do, where's Paul going? He's going to heaven. Fine, kill me. I'm on my way to paradise, brother. Friends, Jesus told his followers, as we conclude, you will stand trial before governors and kings because you're my followers. But this will be your opportunity to tell the rulers and other unbelievers about me. Tell them when they love you. Tell them when they laugh at you. Tell them when they herald you and honor you, and tell them when they hate you. But for goodness sakes, if you're still alive, tell someone about Jesus. Hey friends, Pastor Luke just wanted to take a quick second to say thank you for watching the video. If you found it to be edifying and encouraging, make sure to hit the like and subscribe button. For more videos and sermons like this, or to watch the full-length sermon, you can find it right here on our YouTube channel or by visiting our website, www.hopeoflbi.com.